Hello and welcome to this continuing series on how to study. My name's Jim, and this particular video will be about comprehension and understanding. Now, if you didn't see the other video on the SQR3 method, you can check out the link in the post, and that'll take you there, and you can watch what the SQR3 method is about. The SQR3 method is sort of like the framework, the structure for how to study. This particular video and ones that'll be coming up will be take different elements of the SQR3 method, or how when you're studying, things that come up, and it'll go into a little bit more deeper in those areas in order for you to be able to better understand how learning occurs, and basically how to study better. Okay, so let's kind of move on here. Right, like I said, this here particular video is going to be about comprehension versus understanding. Now, um, you know, what's the difference between comprehension and understanding? Well, it's about how you read. Comprehensive reading is passive reading, okay? Um, being understanding what you read is active reading. And I'm going to kind of like give you an example to be able to illustrate the difference between the two and kind of like what goes into it, okay? Um, let's say that we had a newspaper magazine article or a newspaper article, and let's say it's about the seven wonders of the world. And as you're reading the article, the pyramids were not included as part of the seven wonders of the world. And the Egyptians were upset because the pyramids were always included as part of the seven wonders of the world. And the article might go on to say, to keep the peace, the pyramids were grandfathered into the seven wonders of the world. Okay, and you comprehended that, right? I mean, after all, it's English, and you can read English, and you kind of like read this, right? Sure, you were listening to me, but as you were listening, you were following along, right? Now, here's the question. How many wonders of the world are there? Right? Think about that for a moment and try to answer that question. I'll even go back to the previous slide. Okay? Think about this. You know, when you're first reading, it said seven wonders of the world. It said pyramids, Egyptians, okay? And you were comprehending that, but when I asked you the question, how many wonders of the world are there, I have to stop and think for a second, okay? If, um, you're looking at this and you're thinking from an active perspective, okay, what you just did was active reading, which led to understanding. I mean, think about it. It's a process of asking and answering questions in your own mind that leads to understanding of the concepts. And this is the beginning of a higher level of thinking, which is required at, the college level of learning, or any higher education. It's not about memorization. That's passive learning. That's what you did in high school. You could have memorized that slide and repeated it, but but would you have understood it? Okay. Once you understand what you read, you then need to apply that understanding by doing. That's where the real learning comes in. So if we go back to that slide, okay, um, it had said seven wonders of the world, and the pyramids were not included. The Egyptians were upset. The pyramids always were included in the seven wonders of the world. To keep the peace, the pyramids were grandfathered into the wonders of the world. Okay. Now, if you're passively reading that, yeah, you're familiar with wonders and pyramids and Egyptians and things like that. And that's comprehension. That's like reading a newspaper, the People magazine, the Star, the National Enquirer. Uh, but if you're actively reading, you're asking questions. Your mind is, and you're trying to find the answers while you're reading. You're using the body of knowledge that's in the back of your head. And the reason why I picked out grandfathering here is because if there's seven wonders of the world, and if you're reading this actively, if they're telling you there's seven wonders of the world, and then they grandfather in, the pyramids, Now, my question to you is there 7 wonders of the world, or is there 8 wonders of the world? Because what's grandfathering? Notice I'm asking questions, and I'm trying to answer those questions, and that's active, reading. Okay, that's how you understand things. If I were just memorizing this and I had a question on a test, and it said how many wonders of the world are there? 7. A is 7, B is 8, C is 3, D is 4. Okay, and if you just read over this in a passive manner and didn't think or question, you probably would have answered 7 and gotten the question wrong. Okay, but because of the word grandfathering and what it connotates, and you know what that is in the back of your mind, that means that the pyramids were included because of a special subsection included with that group. And that made it one of the 7 wonders of the world. So really there's 8 wonders of the world, and that would have been the correct answer to the question. Okay, but that's what active reading does for you versus passive reading. That's the difference between comprehension and understanding. Comprehending, you can read all you want and you can memorize it, but at higher education, higher levels of thinking, at college level of thinking, it's not about memorization. All right, if you want to memorize a definition, I don't memorize definitions. I go look them up because it's already in the book. But I need to be able to understand those concepts and then apply those concepts to the situation at hand. Here, I have to apply the concept of grandfathering in order to be able to arrive at the correct answer. So I hope that was helpful. Realize that there's a difference between comprehension and understanding, and it's not about just reading once, reading twice, and memorizing. Okay, it's about working through and actively questioning and truly getting a grasp on the concepts. And then, of course, there's the application of it, and that means doing the homework problems so that you're accustomed to new situations and to be able to use those concepts. Okay, so that's the end of this here video. Pay attention. I'm going to post a few more about on how to study, and maybe even have a special list where you can go back and review them all the time. So until the next time, take care and good luck with your studies.